today I'm going to be making a seriously spicy hot sauce. I'm going to be using some super hot chilies that I've been growing all year, and I'm calling this one Splash of Lava. I'm also going to be using a new method of fermenting, and I'll show that to you in this video. The ingredients for this recipe could not be simpler. We have some really hot peppers, we have some garlic, and we have some salt. The method we're using today doesn't require as much salt as you would normally put in a fermentation. So we need 2% of the weight of the ingredients in salt. We have 200 grams of peppers and garlic, which means we need 4 grams of salt. I'm going to be using the Naga Morik, which is a really hot pepper, but a really tasty one as well. After a lot of research, this is the vacuum sealer I went with. It is a good balance between cost and features. The other feature I wanted from this, besides having wet and dry, is I wanted a roll bag inside. I can make bags as big as I want because it's just a long roll of plastic. So you roll out the amount that you need. You then push that down. You then use this cutter, and we'll just seal that so it'll start the bag for us. There we go. So we have the bag sealed down below there, and we're going to fill this up with the mash. So all we need to do now, it's on dry, but I'll make it moist, because this is a little moist. Make sure that there's nothing here where the actual seal is going to happen, and we need to just get that in there. Vac and seal. And there we go. It's busy sealing now. Go dark, and we have our vacuum sealed peppers, and that's ready to ferment. It's quite an interesting concept, and it makes a lot of sense if you think about it. When we ferment, we are sealing up our jars using an airlock or things like that, because you don't want air to get back in. And essentially, it's not just air, you want no oxygen to get back in. CO2 needs to be released, which means that this bag, after a little while, will actually start expanding, even though it's vacuum sealed right now. The lactobacillus are going to create CO2, which means that it's going to create CO2, it's going to create lactic acid, and you'll see this bag start to puff up, which is perfectly fine. This also means that you have a less chance of anything bad going wrong with this. We're going to stick this into the fermentator, which is my temperature controlled fridge, and we're going to ferment this as we would any other fermentation. The only difference is we don't have an airlock on here, so this will actually take up less space than some of the other fermentations that I have. So all in all, this might be the new method that I use going forward. We'll just have to wait and see. Let me go stick this in the fermentator, and I'll be back with you once this is fermented. It's been 13 days, and you can see that this here has just blown up. The CO2 that's been released during the fermentation process has expanded this bag. As you remember, when we started this off, the bag was vacuum sealed, so there was no air inside there whatsoever. But purely down to the fermentation, you can see how much CO2 has been produced. We are going to be opening this up today and adding in some more peppers, which are these peppers over here. The extra peppers we're adding there are 570 grams of those, and we have 30 grams of garlic. So altogether, that is 600 grams. And these aren't all Nagamorics, the same as these over here, but the majority are Nagamorics. There are some others in here as well, Nagla Beasts, as well as some gourmet jigsaws. And this is going to be hell of a spicy, and I'm looking forward to trying it out. The mix is going to work quite well together. It'll be complementary, and I think the sauce is going to be fantastic. I've measured out the salt already. We need 2% salt to add in, because obviously we had 2% salt with this, but we need another 2% salt, which here is 12 grams of salt. The one other change I'm going to be making, so with this one here, we did just like a brine fermentation. I chopped up the peppers quite thickly and added in the salt. With these new ones, what I'm going to do is mix in with these, and we're going to actually blend it up. So we're going to make a mash. And no real reason for doing that. It just will make it a lot easier for packaging and getting it into the bag. First things first, I've got to open this up. So this is going to be interesting. I'm not going to let it blast into my face, but it'll be interesting to see what this smells like. Wow, spicy, but actually quite a nice smell. It's that's quite unique. It smells really good, really good. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it inside this blender cup, and I'm going to add in some of the other peppers as well. So quite impressed with how healthy this is. This is quickly turning into one of my new favorite methods of fermenting, using these bags and doing a vacuum sealed ferment. It really is quite a nice way of doing it. One of the good things about doing it this way, which is, starting with an existing fermentation and adding in some fresh peppers, is the fermentation is already kicked off. So these new fresh peppers are going to start fermenting really rapidly. And, it is really important when you are fermenting, you want to get this fermentation to start and do its thing as quickly as you can. The quicker the pH gets down to a decent level, the healthier your fermentation is going to be, and the less likely you're going to have problems down the line. Wow, there's some fumes coming out of there. Wow. Going to need to be a fairly big bag. If the original fermentation is anything to go by, this is going to blow up quite a bit again. So I'm going to make it quite a bit oversized. Probably should have used my bigger blender jug, but this is the one I had cleaned and sterilized for this. So I guess I'm just going to have to make do. Hopefully that's sealed it okay. It has. Here we have our two batches. So we split it out into two batches so that we could make quite a bit more as the season went on. We just put in more and more ripe peppers, and I made two batches in this over here. So You can see the colors are a little bit different, but that's because there are a few different types of peppers in each of these. The one thing they have in common is they're all ridiculously hot. Today is the last day of February in 2020. We started these back in September of 2019, so they've been fermenting for a nice little while now. They are thoroughly fermented. I intended these to actually go for about a month, month and a half, but things get in the way. And that's one of the benefits of a fermentation, is the fact that in this phase, when it is fermenting, as long as you've done this right and you're not getting any pathogens and growth and that sort of thing, then you can actually leave this for quite a while before you get ready to actually make sauces. First thing we're going to do here, and I get this question every time asking me what am I using here. This here is Star San. I'm actually using a different one now. I'm just using the last of my Star San, but this is a no rinse sanitizer. It's an acid sanitizer, so it's not going to affect your sauce. It's not going to be detrimental to your health, and this is what I use to actually do the final sanitization. Obviously I've cleaned everything, but this is just a final step, and it just means that we have everything nice and clean, nice and healthy, ready for us to make our sauces. So you can wipe out the excess, it's up to you. All I do is if there is any, like you can see in the bottom there, then I just empty that out into the sink. I don't wipe it with tissue because then you're going to be possibly introducing some more bacteria here, so don't do that. Listen, I know this is hot, but that smell, it smells sweet and delicious. Oh, this is going to be such a good sauce. So we're just going to mill that down, get the liquid out. You can see that down there coming through. Wow, that actually smells quite a bit hotter. Still amazing smell, but quite a bit hotter there. You can actually smell the garlic through there too. So let's have a look at what we have here. This is just lovely. What I did halfway through the milling is I actually switched to a bigger plate, so the holes in the mill plate, just so that I could get more of the goodness out. And we can see all we have left here is pretty dry, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. We have quite a lot here. The second last thing we're going to be adding to our sauce is cardamom pods, and these here are 5 grams of cardamom pods, which works out to around 0.2% of the overall weight of our sauce. So we're going to add that to our spice grinder, and we're going to grind that up before we add it. And this is going to go straight into there. Oh, cardamom is such a fragrant spice. The last ingredient we're going to be adding is 250 milliliters of white wine vinegar. This is good quality white wine vinegar, so that works out 10% by volume of the chili sauce. So let me add that in. And that there is all going to go into this blender, get blended up. We're also going to be adding a little bit of xanthan gum. I'm going to be adding in 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum just to bind this all together so that we don't get separation with the sauce. My sauce is bottled, labeled, and ready to ship to you guys. Once again, Mrs. ChilliChump has done a fantastic job here, and looking forward to giving it a bit of a test. That's all that's left to do now, is to actually try it out. I've got a little bit left over here that didn't quite fill a bottle, and we're going to try this today. Oh, it does smell good. I mean, I have been smelling this obviously for the last few hours, and it's got a really good smell. Very spicy smell, but very good. Let's give it a try. Bottoms up. Oh, definitely got a lot of heat. It's going down the wrong way. Tastes fantastic. It really does. The white wine vinegar really adds a nice sweetness to it without having to add sugar. But flavors are really good, and the heat is, yeah, it's up there, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So I have another guest who's going to give me a hand. My brother's here tonight. We're having some chicken wings, and I've asked him to give it a bit of a taste. So let's check that video out before we finish this off.
Alright, this is it. What's it called?
This one is the Splash of Lava. That's more than a splash.
Why didn't you say that beforehand?
What do you think of that one?
Yeah, it's good. It's yeah, spicy.
Bit of heat?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try that with chicken wings. See how it turns out. Cool. Yeah, it's good though.
You like it?
Yeah. Is this mine?
That is your bottle.
Perfect.
You can have that.
Yeah, it's very nice.
No worries. Thank you.
Cool. I'm just gonna.
So it looks like my brother has enjoyed that one, which is great. One less bottle for you guys, but there's still quite a few. So make sure that you go and get your order in as soon as you can, just in case it does sell out. But thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you learned a few things. I really do enjoy this vacuum seal method. I don't think it's going to be necessarily the way I do all my fermentations in the future, but definitely going to be using it for a lot more of my fermentations. So I might go into a little bit more detail on how it works in another video. If that's what you guys want, just let me know in the comments below. But until the next video, as always, stay spicy.